Fruit, the most ancient food on Earth. Something humans have been eating for millions of years. And somehow, in 2026, people are afraid of it. You've heard the argument. Fruit is full of sugar. It'll spike your insulin. It's basically candy. If you're watching your weight, or trying to eat well, maybe you should avoid it. But here's what a 2017 landmark meta-analysis in the International Journal of Epidemiology, covering 95 studies and over 2 million people, actually found. For every 200 grams of fruit and vegetables eaten per day, the risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and premature death dropped by around 10%. The benefit continued, all the way up to 800 grams per day. That's not a rounding error. That's not an isolated study. That is the most comprehensive picture science has of fruit, and it looks nothing like the fear. So why is fruit still in the dock? And does the form it comes in actually matter? Fruit contains fructose. That part is true, and fructose, especially in high quantities from processed sources, does have real metabolic consequences. So the question isn't whether fructose can be a problem, it's whether the fructose in whole fruit behaves the same way as the fructose in a can of soda. And the answer is, it doesn't. Not even close. Here's the key concept: the food matrix. When you eat a whole piece of fruit, the fructose doesn't travel alone. It arrives with water, fiber, polyphenols, vitamins, and minerals. The fiber, both soluble and insoluble, slows down how quickly the fructose is absorbed. It creates a natural brake on the digestion process. The result is a slower, more gradual rise in blood sugar and a much lower rate of fructose flooding the liver. A 2023 study from Harvard, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found exactly this. Fructose from sugar-sweetened beverages and juices was absorbed significantly more quickly than fructose from whole fruit, due to the fiber content and slower digestion. And it was specifically fiber that mediated the difference in cardiometabolic markers between whole fruit and other fructose sources. In plain terms, the sugar in a piece of fruit is not the same metabolic event as the sugar in a can of soda. Same molecule, completely different delivery system. And on top of the fiber, whole fruit brings something else, a category of compounds that most people completely overlook when they're worried about sugar. Fruits are one of the richest dietary sources of polyphenols, plant compounds with potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Flavonoids, anthocyanins, quercetin, resveratrol, vitamin C. Different fruits deliver different polyphenol profiles, which is precisely why variety in fruit intake matters. Research, including a comprehensive 2023 review of human clinical trials, has found that polyphenols from fruits and vegetables can significantly reduce markers of inflammation and oxidative stress, and support cardiovascular and metabolic health. This is the part of the fruit conversation that gets completely lost when people fixate on the sugar. The same berry that contains a few grams of natural sugar also contains compounds that have been shown to reduce LDL oxidation, lower blood pressure, support the gut microbiome, and reduce markers of systemic inflammation. It's not just about what fruit contains, it's about what it does. Let's bring it back to what matters most for longevity. The Aune et al. 2017 meta-analysis, 95 prospective studies over 2 million people, found that fruit and vegetable intake was inversely associated with cardiovascular disease, total cancer, and all-cause mortality. The dose response showed benefits continuing up to 800 grams per day. That's roughly 5 to 10 servings. A 2021 meta-analysis in Circulation, 26 cohort studies, nearly 2 million participants, confirmed that each additional serving of fruit per day was associated with meaningfully lower cardiovascular mortality. Benefit plateauing around 5 servings of combined fruit and vegetables daily. And a critical nuance: in the same analysis, fruit juices were not associated with the same mortality benefit. Only whole fruits and vegetables. Not all forms of fruit are equal. Without fiber, the fructose in juice behaves much more like the fructose in a sugar-sweetened beverage. It's absorbed rapidly. The liver receives a higher fructose load in a shorter window. A glass of juice contains the sugar of several pieces of fruit, without the bulk, without the chewing, without the natural braking system. A 2025 meta-analysis of 14 prospective cohort studies found no significant increase in type 2 diabetes risk from 100% fruit juice, but noted clearly that it conferred none of the protective benefits seen with whole fruit. And non-100% fruit juice was associated with a 15% higher risk of type 2 diabetes. Pure 100% fruit juice is not the same as soda, but it is also not the same as whole fruit. A small glass occasionally is not a health catastrophe, but it shouldn't be your primary fruit strategy. Dried fruit sits in an interesting middle ground. The drying process removes water, it doesn't add sugar. So a raisin contains exactly the same sugar as the fresh grape it came from. The issue is density. Because the water is gone, a small handful of dried fruit contains the equivalent sugar and calories of several pieces of fresh fruit. And it's very easy to eat a lot of it quickly. That said, dried fruit also concentrates polyphenols. A 2023 review in Nutrients confirmed that dried fruits, including raisins, prunes, dates, and cranberries, showed potentially beneficial effects on gut microbiota composition. The honest picture: dried fruit is nutritionally valid, but its caloric density makes portion size critical. About 30 grams, a small handful, is a reasonable serving. One of the most common questions, and a legitimate one, is whether people with diabetes or insulin resistance should be avoiding fruit. The evidence here is actually reassuring. A 2023 meta-analysis of 19 randomized controlled trials found that fruit consumption, including both fresh and dried fruit, significantly decreased fasting blood glucose in people with diabetes. Whole fruit did not worsen glycemic control. That said, if you're managing blood sugar, pairing fruit with a protein or fat source can further buffer any glucose response. And it's always worth working with your healthcare team on what's right for your specific situation. Here's the fruit protocol. 4 rules. Minimum effective dose, completely achievable. Rule 1. Prioritize whole fruit every day. The evidence base is built on whole fruit. That is where the fiber matrix effect lives. That is what the mortality data reflects. Aim for 2 to 5 servings per day. One serving is roughly 80 to 100 grams. A medium apple, a banana, a handful of berries, or 2 kiwis. And variety matters as much as quantity. Berries for anthocyanins, citrus for flavonones, apples and pears for quercetin. Different fruits, different polyphenol profiles. Eating a range across the week gives you a broader biochemical toolkit. Rule 2. Juice is occasional, not equivalent. A small glass of 100% fruit juice is not harmful, but it should not be your daily fruit strategy. It doesn't carry the protective mortality signal that whole fruit does. If you enjoy juice, fresh squeezed with pulp retained is the best version. More fiber, more polyphenols than filtered carton juice. Smoothies with whole blended fruit are better than juicing, and whole fruit is still better than either. Rule 3. Dried fruit. Watch the portion. About 30 grams, a small handful, is a sensible serving. It works well in oatmeal, on top of yogurt, or mixed with nuts as a snack. It becomes a problem when portion control disappears. Rule 4. Context, not anxiety. Fear of fruit is one of the most scientifically unwarranted food anxieties in the modern health landscape. The data does not support it. Even higher sugar fruits, eaten as whole fruit in the context of an overall balanced diet, are associated with health benefit, not harm. The people who benefit most from increasing fruit intake are those eating very little of it. Going from 0 servings to 2 servings per day is one of the highest return dietary changes the research supports. Free, available, and associated with a measurable reduction in the risk of the diseases most likely to shorten your life. 3 practical ways to hit your daily fruit target. Idea 1. The morning bowl. Top your oatmeal or yogurt with a generous handful of mixed frozen berries, half a banana, and a tablespoon of ground flaxseed. 1 to 2 servings of fruit before 9 a.m. Done. Idea 2. The afternoon snack swap. Replace your afternoon processed snack with a piece of whole fruit and a small handful of unsalted nuts or some almond butter. The fat and protein slow the sugar absorption further. One of the most metabolically stable snack combinations in the research. If you want to integrate steps like this into your daily routine, consider subscribing. We break down the science of longevity every week so you can build a measurably healthier lifestyle. Idea 3. The variety challenge. Try eating at least 3 different colored fruits across the week. Red, blue and purple, orange and yellow, green. Different colors, different polyphenol families, a broader spectrum of biological protection. It's that simple. Here's the thing about the fruit conversation. Somewhere along the line, we took one of the most universally health-protective foods in human history, a food humans evolved eating, a food every traditional diet on Earth includes, a food associated in study after study after study with longer, healthier lives. And we started treating it as something to be suspicious of. The science doesn't support that suspicion. What it supports is eating more whole fruit, not less. What it supports is variety. What it supports is the simple, unglamorous, deeply human act of eating the things that grow. A 2023 study found that eating fruit 2 or more times per day was associated with a 20% lower all-cause mortality risk compared to eating it less than 3 times per week. 20% from fruit. The question was never really whether fruit is a health food. The question was whether we were going to let an oversimplified fear of sugar take that benefit away from us. The Stoics had a concept they called amor fati, love of what is. Love of the things that are real and true and in front of you. A bowl of fruit is real. Its benefit is real. The research is in front of you. You now know what the science actually says about fruit. Not the fear, not the oversimplification. The only thing left is to eat it.